When people talk about whether or not one parent should stay at home and raise kids, I think it's mostly about money. And honestly, for us, it was too. We looked at childcare, we looked at earning potential, we looked at what it would look like if only one of us actually worked. But one thing that ultimately changed my mind had nothing to do with money. I had been talking to one of my friends who works, as most of my friends do, and she was describing to me some challenges that she had in her day with her kids. And I realized that I didn't share exactly the same challenges in the same way, or at least to the same amount of intensity that she was feeling. And I was thinking, why do we have some of the same experiences, but one of us feels a lot more stressed by them, and I was feeling just a little bit more chill? And I think that's when it hit me that parenting is actually a skill, which sounds super obvious, but I just don't think I ever really thought about it that way before. So before becoming a full-time mom, I was actually a strategic sourcing procurement consultant. And every skill that I ever learned, whether it was negotiations or contract review, or even in my personal life, cooking, boxing, gardening, woodworking, those were all skills that took time and repetition to build. Because nobody expects to become great at something without consistent practice. But for some reason, I just didn't think about parenting that way, when in reality, patience, emotional regulation, conflict resolution, communication, repair after someone makes a mistake, those are all skills. And none of us are born knowing how to do those things. It's something that we learned. And I'll be honest, I thought I was great at all of those things until I became a mom. And what I realized is when I'm at home with my kids, I get more reps. So whether it's boundary testing or sibling conflict or dealing with my toddler's transitions, I get so much practice throughout the day. Sometimes I don't respond the best. Sometimes I'm tired. Sometimes I am impatient. Sometimes I'm cranky, or I'm just overwhelmed with my house being a complete and utter disaster all the time. But you know what? I get to actually practice again with the same scenarios 10 minutes later and repeat that literally the entire day. And it's great because I give my kids a chance to try again when something doesn't go the way that they wanted to. And now I get to do the same for myself. So I get to try that repair a little bit better next time, or a little bit faster. I get to approach that situation with a little bit more patience. I get to show up to whatever that moment is with a little bit more knowledge and practice because I've already done the same thing with my toddler 15 times that day. I mean, I get to spend more time at home with my kids, and that's awesome, obviously, but I also get so many more opportunities to just keep practicing and trying to become that better version of my parenting self that I am always striving to be. And honestly, that kind of feels like a superpower. It feels like an extra blessing in a way. And before anyone gets mad, I'm not saying that working parents cannot be amazing parents. Obviously they can. This is just a bonus realization that I had after I had already decided to be a full-time mom. And it's something that was continually in my mind, especially when I was presented with some really juicy job opportunities that I was honestly super tempting to take. I realized I wanted to keep parenting in-house as much as possible instead of outsourced. And in doing that, I had an opportunity to just keep building and continuing developing really critical, important skills. So originally I was looking at the decision like money, not as much money, childcare, staying at home. But eventually I started looking at it like, how many opportunities am I going to have by staying home to evolve and grow and learn alongside my children? And honestly, I think that's one cost of working that I don't hear anyone talking about. It's not just less time with your kids, it's actually just having fewer opportunities to practice those parenting reps.